How's it going? We have been off for a couple weeks, had some stuff going on, so didn't really have time to film. Gonna try to get a good one for you guys today. We're gonna mess with the cross cart. I got my flanges here for my CV axles, so we're gonna try to get those chopped up, my axle chopped up, get everything welded together. That way we're ready to hook up CV axles. I did buy CV axles a while ago, but I did mess up. Those are for a 1990 to 93 Mazda Miata, and my flanges are for a 94 to 95, so they don't fit. But we can at least get everything welded up on there. I'm gonna have some new CV axles on the way here soon. It's kind of my mess up, didn't really pay attention, just bought them so far apart, and I figured that they'd fit as long as it was in the 90s, but obviously I was wrong. But first things first, I'm going to put that in the carrier bearings that I have, slap a chain on it, just laying over so I can get everything lined up. I'll clamp the carrier bearings down, and I'll cut off all the access on each side. I'm going to try to leave a little bit hanging out of the carrier bearings, so that way when I weld it, it doesn't burn up my bearings or anything. But once the bearings are on there, they're on there. They're not coming off unless I cut the axle, so hopefully I get it right the first time and nothing's uneven. Hopefully everything's welded flush, but yeah, we'll get into that first. So as you can see, I got these pieces cut off. This is just a smaller part of the axle, and then it goes bigger over there. So I just had a straight line to cut on. Right there, you can look straight down the chain. It looks straight for the most part. Obviously, I'm gonna have movement back and forth that I can play with when we start driving it, just in case it's gotta go one way or the other. But it's kind of just giving me an idea of how much room I have there to weld on a flange. And then I'm gonna cut off about the same on this side for it to be equal. I don't have the right sprocket right now, so the chain doesn't really fit, so I'm just doing my best because it's a different pitch sprocket. But I should get be able to get a sprocket that bolts up to that, and then I have a disc brake as well that I could put a caliper on. But for the most part, I think that's how we're gonna run it. Looks semi-straight to me. I think the motor's tweaked to the right a little bit, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see if anything binds up while we're driving, but for the most part it looks good. So now I just gotta cut through that really thick piece on the right side and then just cut the back of these flanges off. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop right here at the thickest part probably and try to weld there as center as possible so we're not uneven and it's spinning in an oval shape rather than a circle. But it's gonna suck to cut this axle because on the time lapse you saw how long it took just to get through the thinner part, but I also got to keep the cut as straight as possible. We'll see how good I am at cutting this. At some point I need to weld everything together too, because like all this stuff is just tacked together, so I got a lot of welding to do. I got to make sure I have enough wire and everything. Might do some of that in the video. I'm gonna pull the motor to do it and all the A-arms so that I can just probably hang it from the ceiling and just weld it and turn it whenever I need to. I think that would be the easiest thing to do. Yeah, we're coming along nicely today. So here's how the axle turned out. It's really short from where we started. The only reason I bought such a long one was because it has the sprocket and the disc brake mount. And we're going the cheap route right now. I don't have the money to buy an actual diff that's got bearings and everything on it, like the actual mounts. So that might be a later down the road thing if this thing ever gives out or when it gives out. But I was just looking at this. I can't weld my flange onto this side yet because I'm going to be replacing the sprocket. I'm glad I found that out before I welded everything together, but since I'm changing that, I'm going to have to be able to pull this off. So we'll definitely get this side done. I still have to pull it off because I have to get my disc brake on there, but I think that's the one we're going to use. It's pretty beefy. I mean, still kind of small, but we also have front brakes. So we're gonna have a big single in the back and then one on each wheel up in the front. Those are also pretty small because they're for a go-kart, so I hope they work good enough. We won't go too fast on the first test drive just in case. But I also just realized that these have grease zerks that are supposed to be on there, and they came with the bearings, but I got the bearings a long time ago and I have no idea where the zerks are at. So I'll just probably buy a kit and put the right ones in there. I want to be able to grease these, especially if this goes as fast as I think it's going to go. Also with this cut, I tried to get it as straight as possible. Everything for the most part measures 1.25 inches from the bearing itself. This side is 1 1/8 inches, but it's not that big of a difference. 1/8 of an inch isn't going to do much for us, and if I shift the axle it might even it out, so I'm fine with that. But what was I going to do? Oh yeah, we're going to put that disc brake on, get it bolted up, and then we'll set it back in there and we'll see how it looks. My main issue with cutting these is I'm trying to figure out the best way to cut them straight. Might find something to put a sleeve over this and then cut on the edge of that, because I was going to run right along this little piece of metal here, but I think that's going to put it too far in for me to weld. But I mean, that might end up being what we have to do just because of what we're working with here. I don't have any little spacers or anything that I can slide over that to make it, give it a little more metal, but we'll see when we get there. Alright, now that I got the disc brake on, everything seems to spin pretty good. That's a good thing. I was just thinking about it. I don't think I'm gonna cut either of the flanges or weld them on, because when I weld those on, I want to have a sleeve over it so I can weld the axle itself and then slide a piece of tube over it and weld it to the flange and the axle, just to make sure that there's like extra stability there. And I don't have any tubing that is big enough to do that. So I'm gonna have to go to the metal shop when they open tomorrow, which I also work tomorrow, so I'm not gonna be able to finish anything else on this. I'm also gonna pick up a bunch of aluminum sheets while I'm there so I can make a floor, do like a bunch of side panels, and then I can use rib nuts to put them on. So that's gonna be it for this thing today. There's one thing I want to do on my bike, so I think I'm going to do that in this video. I bought a tail tuck kit to get rid of this massive freaking fender on the back. I think we could take that off, kind of see what the bike looks like without it, and then tomorrow I'll have my license plate mount and my integrated tail light. So next week I'll show you what that looks like, because I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow. Maybe I will. We'll see what happens. If I get the license plate mount and everything in time, I'll put everything on, mount it up, and show you what it looks like. But for now, we'll just pull that one off, and hopefully the bike looks a lot better. So this is what we're looking like now. Looks a lot better. Nothing's screwed in yet because I have to get that mount tomorrow. It's got a big opening right there, if you can see it. Right there, it's all open right there. That's where my keyhole is. So the mount closes up everything pretty good, but it's still gonna be like open into the inside of the bike right there. So what I might do, like I did with my FZ07, is I might take this plastic piece off, kind of chop it up to where it'll fit in the new mount and sit behind it, so it kind of covers up the hole where the inside of the bike is, so it's not just flinging up water in there the whole time. But right now that's where we're gonna stop today, because like I said, I get my new license plate mount and tail light tomorrow. My new tail light, I believe it's smoked, I can't remember. Kind of just ordered it 'cause how ugly this thing was, but it's either smoke or a clear lens with a blacked out interior. It also might be LED, but I think this is LED, so I don't think we'll need a relay for the flashers, but it should plug into my blinkers. These two plugs are gonna be empty because it's a license plate light and something else, not sure what it is, but those will be empty. But this is the opening I was talking about right here, so don't want water flying up in there, so I might trim up the plastic as best as possible. But I'll either see you guys tomorrow with the license plate or I'll see you with an outro. Hopefully it's with the license plate mount and the tail light, but who knows what time they're gonna deliver it. So my stuff just showed up from Tail Tuck. Got my light here. Like I said, kind of a smoked lens, kind of clear, but everything inside's black. And then we got my license plate mount here, so we're good to get this stuff put in there. Probably gonna do the tail light first, maybe. I don't know. Just kidding. We're gonna do the license plate mount first, get everything bolted up how it needs to be. Then we'll do the tail light. Shouldn't take us too long, but hopefully we can see what it looks like today. I kind of already plugged in the tail light to see what it looked like, and I like it a lot. But I'll show you what it looks like when it's in the bike. Alright, after taking this thing apart 8 times and putting it back together and taking it apart, putting it back together, taking it apart, it is all good now. I didn't know I had to switch all my hardware over from the taillight to the new one, so I had to keep taking stuff off to do that. But we're looking good. Taillight looks good. This looks like it seals everything up pretty good. Just that hole in the middle that is open, and that's just where my key goes. So like I could probably get a plug for it, but now where's my key? There it is. So turn this on. So that's what the taillight itself looks like. Looks orange in the camera. But I'll turn on my hazards so you can see what it looks like. It's got those center LEDs, and then with the blinkers, the one side just lights up and flashes, and it's the whole ring, so that's kind of cool. Looks a lot better without that big old whale tail on it. So I'm happy with how that turned out. Only thing next that I have plans for this bike is an exhaust, but we're gonna save up a little bit for that because it's a little expensive. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video as well. I know we didn't get much done on the cross cart, but we didn't have a choice, so that's why I kind of threw that in there. But if you guys did enjoy the video, hit that like button, drop a comment on what you think of everything we're doing in here. It's getting close to fishing season, so with that, we're gonna be doing some fishing, camping, dirt biking, and all that. Snowmobile season's kind of over, so that sucks. But if you guys enjoy the content, you should subscribe. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.